Hey there everyone! Welcome back to another exciting video for the Shibarium community and its partners. I'm Seizan Shib, and my mission is to spread knowledge and positivity within the Shibarium ecosystem. This video is the 34th of all X-Space Weekly DAO Update series. This X-Space was held September 12th, 2024.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another K9 Finance Weekly DAO Update Spaces. You've made it here once again early and live for the Thursday weekly show. I am Pulse Digital hosting from the K9 Finance account, and you are here for the final weekly update before the Bone Crusher release. 1 week from now, Bone Crusher releasing on mainnet, and you are tuning in to get the updates from the team that's bringing Bone Crusher to Ethereum and to Shibarium. We're going to get these updates today as our speakers fill in. We're going to build a panel containing people who are working on DAO updates, forum votes, DApp work. We're going to get some explanations today. It's going to be a great show. If you want to pull up a spot, you can request a speaker spot. You guys know how these shows work by now. If you can't speak and you still want to be a part of the show, the comment section is where you should be at. The bottom right down there. I need that number to go up throughout the show. You can tell me where you're at, what you had for lunch. I don't really care. As long as the comments are happening down there. You can always tag people if you have specific questions. If you need Buzz or Turtle or somebody to answer something specifically, make sure you tag them so they don't get lost down there looking for it. That's very helpful. You can also share the spaces if you know a group, if you know somewhere that we should be broadcasting to, Shibarium Tech Group, or somewhere that I don't have that reach yet. You can go ahead and post it in there, let them know that we're live. Also, sending DMs to people, letting people know that we are here is also helpful. Last is emojis. They're on the house. You can press the button. We'll know how you feel about the show. It helps us out as speakers. So like I said, I am hosting up here, but I'm going to be doing very little speaking today because Buzz has got a whole rack of stuff he's going to go over. So Buzz, without further ado, welcome to you, man. It's been 7 days and a highly anticipated visit today. What's going on?
Hey, not much. Just busy, heads down, getting everything ready for the 18th.
So what does that look like for you? What have you been up to today? You don't have to tell me every damn detail, but give me an idea. When you say heads down, what kind of final checks are you doing? What does it look like?
Well, it's all testing. Like, testing kind of happens in phases. Deployments happened last week. I don't want to get into too much detail because then you get the on-chain sleuths and stuff like that. But we're just testing the final pieces, making sure that all the permissions on the contracts are correct. All of our modeling is done properly. All the architecture is set up. It's really just the nitty-gritty. It's not too glamorous, but is the most important things for a product launch to make sure that things go smooth.
So what are some of the most common conversations you've been having with people the last couple of days? What seems to be, when people get an opportunity to talk to you, what are they asking about?
I mean, the most common question by far is certainly like, what's the yield rate and stuff like that. And it's always the same sort of answers, that the yield rate depends on many different factors. So it's mostly things that can't really be answered, and mostly interested now in educating people on what drives yield rates and how the product works, so that the next person who comes in the community, the next person who's onboarding and trying to use it, it's distributed information and education amongst the whole community to teach people how this works and why it's going to be and can be a very great tool for Shibarium.
And to that end, you made a thread on X just about maybe an hour before we got into the show here that included a series of charts and flows and stuff like that I thought were fantastic. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you posted?
Yeah, I was hoping to go through a pretty deep dive on those in the spaces today. So that I just pinned it in the Jumbotron here. So it's diagrams of how K9 works. So the first diagram there in the first tweet shows end-to-end all four major aspects of Bone Crusher. And although K9 is the official liquid staking for Shibarium, K9 is not just liquid staking. So there's four main parts of the product that all feed into each other and make it so that the product is not only beneficial to K9 users, but beneficial to Shibarium as a whole. So that thread breaks down those four parts, which are the liquid staking module, which allows people to delegate Bone and receive KN Bone. Farming, which allows people to take that KN Bone, put it into a no impermanent loss liquidity pool and start earning. on that. Very lucrative rewards there for anybody who's following our forum posts. There's real yield staking, which means that people can stake or lock K9 in order to earn from there. And real yield means that it's not coming from inflation. There's a real revenue source that's driving that, and that comes from our validators. And the fourth is the vesting module. So how people are really realizing those farming rewards, and it all plays into this ecosystem of how there can be different personas of people who can use K9 and really customize it for their own risk profile and how they want to use it. So what I tried to do with that thread is coincide the diagrams with the aspects and how they were impacted from the most recent vote. I'm sure that we'll go into the vote, but in each of those tweets, there's key metrics of how the product is going to be set on the first day and how that's going to work to educate people. I think we're going to dive into it a lot more from there. But one of the things about the vote, which I think is very important to understand, is that the roundtable agreed, and of course our token holders agree, that there should be a 90-day period where these elements can be changed. There's a lot of assumptions that go into setting the right variables there, and I think there will be a lot of change and optimization happening within the product within that first 90 days. And within that first 90 days, there will also be a proposal of how those variables are going to be selected moving forward. Because of course, for the decentralized product, it's you need time to stabilize it, time to optimize it. It's important to have that agility and not have to go through a 5-day voting period to get something done. But after 90 days, we feel as though we'll have enough data and be confident enough to put together a framework moving forward where the entire community can set these variables and adjust these. But with that said, I don't want the community to feel as though people are just going to be acting and changing these variables to whatever we want during that 90-day period. It's one of the recommendations that came out of that vote, is that even though we need to be agile, we need to adjust things during those 90 days, it's also very important to take feedback from the community and do more off-chain voting style to engage the community in that and make sure that people's thoughts are heard and ultimately reflected. But part of that vote was just making sure that we can remain agile.
Then either you or Turtle, if you'd like, I'd like a little bit more detail on the vote specifically, since you've referenced it a couple of times. Last week, we went over 3 separate proposals, but you're speaking about one in particular. Can you give me some detail?
Yeah, of course. So there were 3 proposals that were voted on. All 3 of them passed. So the first 2 were very unanimous, especially amongst the roundtable meeting. It was the treasury rebalance that Shima proposed. So part of that was just recognizing, hey, we see a little bit more risk that was assigned to owning DAI. Part of our treasury is in DAI in a money market with DAI there. So we're going to rebalance that and rebalance it into USDC and put that into the Aave lending protocol to earn yield there. Just felt it was a better risk profile for the return for the treasury. That passed. The second was just in light of the most recent SHIB DAO vote, giving the K9 DAO the ability to use our treasury to vote in other DAOs. So for example, we hold a lot of SHIB, we hold a lot of Bone. I feel as though it would be valuable for the DAO to be able to vote on any votes there in the best interest of the K9 community. But it doesn't just stop at SHIB and Bone. There's other tokens that we hold that could be used in voting in other protocols as well. So it gives us the flexibility there. And the third one, which I've referenced a few times now, is the kind of nitty gritty one. It was the monster, the one that got most of the activity in the forum, the one that posed the most, the largest educational barrier, the one where people have been digging into the model, trying to do the math of what potential yield rates could be. And that was a vote to decide what the initial product fees and reward distribution structure will be. So when K9 is earning Bone from the validator, how do we allocate that? There's people who are, of course, giving their Bone to the validator, receiving KN Bone, There's people who just want to stake K9, and then there's farmers on the platform as well. Each of those participants can be rewarded in a different way because they're all important. And what we just voted on and what went through is that there's going to be an initial structure of fees and reward distribution that we felt as though was the best balance given the data that we have now and the assumptions that we were able to make. But that vote also recognized that we do need a 90-day period to collect live data, optimize those variables a little bit more, take feedback from the community, and built in within that vote, it says, hey, in the first 90-day period, we're going to come up with a more decentralized way to manage those variables over time so that token holders can be directly part of it rather than just influencing the changes within the first 90 days.
And Turtle, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on too, because we talked a lot about this last week, having seen it go through. What do you think?
Well, I mean, which proposal specifically would you like my thoughts on? I know we kind of just covered all three. I just wanted to make sure I answered.
Sure. Well, he made it seem like the first two were probably not so much of a contested issue, the chairman thing and the treasury restables. So more about the fee and distribution proposal.
Yeah, no, that's been a behemoth of a task, right? This is a complicated product, kind of in a good way, right? But it requires a lot of diligence to build a model for something like this. So I just want to give a lot of credit to Shima and Buzz, who have done most of the heavy lifting, kind of getting everything worked out. And you can kind of hear it in Buzz's voice, right? He's been testing and crossing the T's and dotting the I's, every which way he can, because at the end of the day, these variables set the outcome for everybody. And while the community has, voted and participated, I think all of us kind of within the team feel the pressure to do our best to do a good job on that. So like Buzz was saying, having the flexibility is good over the first 90 days, but I think we've done a good job at the first pass. So I'm just eager to see things get started and kind of take a live view at the market.
That's good. And we do appreciate Shima. We had Shima here a couple of times the last couple of weeks. And we've talked about the work he and the rest of that crew that we don't always get to talk to have done. So this being the last week before everything goes live, we do appreciate them. I don't know if they ever listen back to the spaces or anything, but appreciation and emojis all around for Shima and the crew because the stuff they're doing, when it all goes right, man, it's gonna be something to watch. Buzz, go ahead.
Oh, I just also wanted to add that the agility is certainly something that is beneficial to us, and that was kind of voted through to give us the ability to slightly adjust some of these variables. So you asked like what have we've kind of been working on the last little bit. Like part of what we were doing yesterday and today was getting the auditors to go through basically to match that everything, the contracts match the audit, but also to do some stress testing. And part of that is they try to think like a hacker. They try to think like, oh, how could I break this system? What are the edge cases in which I could break it? And having those variables in place gave them at least parameters to work with and say, okay, how could we break this? So there was actually one edge case that was found already. Well, I mean, I think that'll be the only one because we've done pretty significant stress testing, and it was a very, very far-fetched edge case in terms of like how somebody could kind of corner the yield for themselves using the system. So there'll be one other element that'll be adjusted based on the previous vote, just to make sure that edge case is not available. And just always monitoring these things, because while we can put together the best foot forward for a vote, just having that flexibility to be able to optimize the product over the first 90 days is going to be imperative to make sure that it's working for the long term, not just for a couple months and providing good yield and an opportunity for people to get in, but a product that's going to be a mainstay in Shibarium.
So I got a question that's totally not on any sheets that I haven't talked with you about yet, but I've been wondering for myself. So this is a greedy opportunity to ask. But do you see information like this, these updates, or some of the yield numbers going out? Does Bone Crusher eventually have its own X account where there's like daily updates or posts going out and metrics? How do you foresee that going? Because I know you're a data guy, and it's going to be something that's worth measuring and mentioning at certain times. How do you view the public seeing and consuming the data that's being served?
Well, I totally agree with you. I think Shima would agree as well. Like whenever I'm looking at a third-party DeFi product to be using, like the first place that you go are these data visualization tools. And I always forget the name of this one, but Turtle's going to remind me. I know he's going to unmute in a second, but
Dune
Analytics. For whatever reason, it's always just off the edge of my tongue. But Dune is the kind of gold standard for this. So it's like a dashboard tool where you can bring in blockchain-based data, put it into a nice dashboard, updates in real time. You can see yield rates, TVL, amount of tokens here, amount of tokens in this smart contract, and what the variables are, and get sort of a real-time view as things are changed, how's it impacting the product holistically. Dune currently does not integrate with Shibarium. So it's a request that I believe we've already put in. I'm not sure if they're going to integrate that data. There is an opportunity for us to manually upload it. Of course, then you don't get the real-time data, which kind of, in my opinion, defeats the purpose a little bit. But as a middle ground, I know that Shiba and I will be maintaining a public spreadsheet that's updating a lot of these variables in real time. That spreadsheet was shared in the forum. But if there are suggestions from the community of like how we can scale that, Dune is certainly the first thing that comes to mind. A new Twitter account sounds like a lot of maintenance work, so I don't know if that would be my first choice, although I do agree that Twitter is certainly the best medium to get that information out, but would love to just have a data dashboard where people can go there to see everything holistically. Just we don't have that tooling available without Dune right now.
In my mind, I'm thinking more probably along the lines of where Funk would go, just as his marketing think here, that it would be cool if there was a website or something where we just could show people, hey, here's all the payouts that have happened on K9 daily, weekly, monthly. Here's how much volume has been generated. Here's how much all of this works. And if Dune isn't going to get it together, that's something to think about. But I do think I understand what you mean. It'd be a lot of work to pump out on X manually. If there was a way to bot that or something, Funk, can you picture what I'm talking about, right? The reporting?
Yeah, I love the idea in general of subdomains off of the K9 original website, just that has like a dashboard that's constantly being updated in real time. I don't know how big of a lift it is, but what I do know is that the amount of work that Buzz and Turtle over here have been doing, I don't want to even put any new ideas into their head for new code, new development, anything. It's all hands on deck for the 18th.
For sure. Everybody's very excited about it. I can't wait for everybody to get a chance to test everything out the way Season has been testing out, which, by the way, every time we do a show, I have to mention, I hope you guys have been tuning into the weekend shows on YouTube where you can watch all the testing that's been going on. He's been doing these marathon runs. He's even got like background music, and it's really evolved and stuff. Buzz, you go ahead.
Yeah, I also forgot to mention one other thing, but there's a member of the community named Francesco. I'm not sure exactly how he chooses to pronounce it. And if I did say it incorrectly, feel free to message me, and just so that next time I say it properly. But he's building a Telegram bot that'll be in our Telegram, which will notify people whenever people stake or lock K9. So it'll give people, it's sort of like a buy bot. It'll tell people when it's staked, when it's locked, what the lock duration was. It'll also tell people when when Bone is added to the K9 validator, what the total amount is, and things like that. So there's going to be sort of a buy bot within our Telegram that is specific to Bone Crusher metrics. So that'll be a busy, albeit a really great tool in there where people will be able to be reminded in Telegram, keep the conversation going, and keep it top of mind.
That'll be great. Hopefully we can have them on maybe to talk about it at some point, because I know that'll be fun to watch that thing go crazy the first couple of times people start using it. See the numbers going up on that. People love number go up. Number go up's the simple psychology of what we're working with here. So
yeah,
that'll be fun.
I hope that he'll have it ready for the 18th. I know that his initial estimate was, I think he started working on it maybe 3 or 4 days ago. He said it would take him about 10 days, so it'll be close.
I'm sure he can get it done. We can all manifest that he will have it done, because I want to see that initial surge. That'd be awesome to watch all that happen. So what else? Because you worked really hard on that X thread that you put together and stuff. Were you the one that made those graphics yourself? Did you put all that together?
I'd be lying if I said that I worked pretty hard to do it. Those graphics and that text has actually been in our docs for over 2 months. So it was mostly copying and pasting, and just for this purpose of the spaces, I put it into a tweet thread so that I could actually just pin it here and directly reference it.
Excellent. That's good. Being prepared, you guys. Part of Spaces is just knowing ahead of time if you're going to reference something. It's really good to have it up ahead like that. So that's good. The docs, by the way, we talked about 4, 5, 6 shows ago when these came out. How I went over the top and said how important it was to have these things, even if some of the people that were finally here probably weren't going to go back and read them because they already had their bag and they don't care. But this is a good example because you said you just referenced back to the docs to grab that out. To shout out to the doc team that made the documents, because it saved Buzz a lot of trouble today. What are your expectations for people in terms of referencing these things? How, I guess what I'm asking is how easy is it going to be for people in the telegrams and stuff to have these conversations? Because there are going to be people coming in, I think, with some pretty intense questions and stuff. And you've been doing a great job of trying to be like, hey, we all need to be educated and we need to tell people how to use this stuff. But how are you preparing for the storm? I guess is what I'm saying on Thursday next week.
I guess the answer to that is that this is exactly our preparation. So just giving these forums where people can ask in advance and posting content like that. Frank does a great job with our VCs. Like I've jumped in there probably once a week for the last month to kind of talk with people about exactly how the product works, and just being transparent that if people are really waiting until the day it launches to use K9 for the first time, there's going to be a lot of people doing that. And I know personally myself, Shima, Turtle, there's going to be a lot of questions. Like it'll be difficult to get hands-on training on the fly, so to speak, in the first couple hours that it launches. So doing the best that we can to put out all these docs, informational materials, have conversations just like this, forums for people to ask all their questions. Testnet's been up for 2 months for whales, over a month now for the general community, and just giving those resources for people to use it and ask questions. You can only sort of lead the horse to water. You can't force it to drink. So we do know that people are certainly going to have a lot of questions on launch day, and how we're preparing is really just documentation that can be sent to people on that day, and training the community, so to speak. The more people that we educate and show how to do it months in advance, the more people that are going to be available to lend a helping hand on launch day.
Have there been any discussions or plans about running open VCs or multiple VCs during the day for support or any kind of extra stuff over the top like that?
I know Sizen's going to be doing a live stream on YouTube. I assume that the mods will put together a VC, but I haven't heard anything like that quite yet. I can't really commit to doing that myself because I just know how launch days go. Like you're kind of monitoring your infrastructure, your contracts, and things like that, and it's very difficult to do that at the same time as helping people use it. I do caution people though that testnet is live, right? Like you can go try it out now and ask all those questions in advance, and that the day of the launch, mistakes can be costly. So if you don't understand how it works and you're not getting the support in the exact second that you need it, just cautionary tale that if you lock your K9 for too long of a period and maybe you didn't understand exactly what that meant, there's no change your password sort of flow in DeFi. There's nothing that we'll be able to do about it. And just a cautionary tale that the resources are here now. We're available. We want to help people learn and educate and come up with strategies and plans now. And if you maybe don't have time to do that prior to the launch day, move slow. The world's not going to end if it takes maybe an extra hour or so to start using the product. I know that the yields are going to be quite juicy on the first hour, the first day. I'm sure people are very eager to jump in, but the mistakes that could be made could potentially be a lot more costly than taking the time now to just learn about it and educate yourself.
People don't know, like you were mentioning, when a contract first launches, a newborn contract is very needy. They need constant attention. You can't walk away like when they're matured. Even an adolescent smart contract can be left on its own for a lot longer, but Buzz is going to be very busy. You got to keep it safe. You got to keep it warm. I could keep going. Crimson was first. You put your hand up first and then you put it down. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I haven't planned this out with the mods yet, but I have it on my calendar to do so. Is to plan out some daily, some voice chats throughout that day, just to keep it open. It probably won't be the full day because everyone's got schedules and stuff, but we'll work it out so that there's a few of them running throughout the day, because I know a lot of people are going to have questions and stuff like that, and it's a lot easier to be able to help people with those things if they can be like, oh, this is showing up, and just share their screen, or share my screen and show them how to do it, kind of stuff. So that's something that we're working on, and all of the mods are working on reviewing all of the documents that Buzz and Turtle and everyone has put together, so that they are all fully knowledgeable on the topic and able to help with any questions that get wrote in the chat.
Awesome. That's going to be good, because there are going to be some people that just would prefer the voice chat support. So I know exactly what you mean. Thank you for jumping up to throw that in.
No worries.
Entropy, how are you?
I'm doing great. I just wanted to add in that our testnet will still be running after mainnet launch. So if we have anybody who is feeling uncertain about how to use the product, they will still absolutely have the ability to use the testnet and, mess around with it until they feel confident before they move over to mainnet and do things with their real funds.
That's a good point. Good opportunity. Never bad idea to go to the range before you head out on the course. Go hit a few balls to warm up. Try it out that way. You can always send new people there too. Season must have been inspired. He came up as well. Season, how are you? I see you unmuted. I can't hear him if he's talking. Season, can you hear me? Might have our first X rug on a speaker today. You might have to cycle back around, bro. That's all right. I had a spaces earlier where basically everybody had to go back around, so you wouldn't be the first one. We got him in the spot, but we didn't get the voice out of him because I couldn't hear anything. Try it back around. We'll get him back up here again. He's been the one running all the testing on YouTube and stuff, so I'm sure he's going to have something insightful to say about what's going to be going on. Maybe he'll be part of the crew answering questions, because he's got more experience at this point than anybody other than Buzz and the crew, as far as I can imagine, right? Spending the time on YouTube like he has. He's been living there, basically. It's very inspirational. Funk, for you, with this coming up, you've got 6 days left between now and then. You've been getting these messages out about the launch of mainnet. How are you feeling about everything?
Hey, I'm besides being a little sick this last weekend and this week, dude, as soon as the weather changes, I get sick like clockwork every single time. When it gets cold, I get sick. But I've also got kids, so they brought home the virus. But regardless of that, yeah, I've been messaging the KOLs, basically, and not just KOLs, but people that are part of Shiba ecosystem to get away from the language of influencer and KOLs. People that are associated with the Shiba Inu team, on the Shiba Inu team. Just big holders, have been around in SHIB forever. I've been sending a lot of private DMs out there, so I know a lot of people listening are like, yep, I got one of those. But just trying to rally and unite and get that grassroots support for Bone Crusher, for this release, for people, for projects, for holders of Bone, for holders of K9. There's just so many people to reach with this. And I wanted to start internally there and really build a lot of support and hype around the SHIB ecosystem. And I see it. I see our community posting in the Shibarium Tech Telegram chat, in the Discord. I see a lot of those KOLs reached out, and not a question asked. It's what I love about this community. They said, yeah, absolutely, I'll get a post out. What are some of the key points that we can make? We had Entropy working really hard to basically curate some of the language to make sure it's exact. It's not exactly my forte, so it's been great to have her with us, helping build really, really good quality writing to make sure that everything's exact and precise, and just a really unified effort to build up the excitement for Bone Crusher launch. And I think that we're doing that really, really well without necessarily going kind of like the degen, DeFi, hype, K9's gonna moon kind of route. We're just really focusing on the technical aspects of it and making sure we get this right. And it is definitely important to note, and I know that no one mentioned it to me in DMs, it's been mentioned by both Entropy and Buzz as well here, that it's important to know what you're doing and not just rushing to the product and just trying to be the first one to just throw throw everything where you don't even know what you're doing with it, because it is a complex product. Liquid staking is not, crypto 101. So basically it's been a lot of information, a lot of grassroots energy and excitement building, but also very careful and calculated with how we do so.
It's going to be a very busy week in terms of all the messaging going out. Like you said, just sending messages out to people who might have just been inactive because of the way the cycle has been. They're just not on their apps as much. So maybe they're just out of sync with what's been going on. But if there was a time to shake everything up, this would be it, to blow the horn, light the beacons, as it were, to use the Lord of the Rings reference, to light the fires, right? Gondor calls for aid. Who will answer? That type of situation. And I'm nerdy enough to do that on a Spaces. I'm never not going to miss that reference. You guys get it, right? It's time to ring the bell. Between now and then, basically what you could do for Funk, normally I ask the people that are up here, what can everybody in the Spaces do for you? But the answer is go out and ring the bell. So you got to let people know that whatever they've been waiting on, whatever they thought K9 was going to do or going to be, it's now is the time to figure it out. So if they've got a bag, or they've been wondering what's happening, or if they've got bone and they heard whispers in the past that something was going to be built, now is the time to bring them in. This is the Spaces they should have been at. So you got one more week to get them into one of these VCs that Frank is going to be a part of, or maybe Funk or somebody else is going to be there, because these guys are going to be doing all the work to get these people ready to go, right, Funk?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And every single day we're doing a countdown to launch on X. So people may have seen this. I'm pretty sure that at least one of those has been tweeted. But I'll tweet another one every single day. And we are doing a long-standing giveaway associated with that, with reposting that and kind of building that engagement. We're also going to be uncharacteristically activating ShieldBot a little bit coming up here soon to really amplify our X presence here. But we're not actually locking chat. They introduced a feature where you can, and Crimson let us know about that, where you can just kind of have the ShieldBot, have the raid bot running without stopping the conversation, which is especially imperative at a time when people are going to be having a lot of technical questions, a lot of questions about mathematics and how these things play out for them in different narratives, which I know I'd love to get a chance to throw the mic over to Entropy to talk about some of those kind of user, what it may look like for different users.
Go ahead, Entropy.
Sorry, I had to get to my unmute button. So yeah, we're going to be putting together some different profiles for users for K9 that kind of assess different risk profiles, and also crypto knowledge, interest in learning about crypto, just all of these different things, so that people can look at these different profiles and be like, oh, this person is like me. I'm a person who's low risk, who just wants to have a very simple experience. And so a way that I could invest that would maximize, my rewards would be following this strategy. And so we're going to do, I want to do at least 4 of those to give some different options for people to envision how they would utilize this tool, what it would mean for their portfolio, and how they could maybe evolve if they start out with I just want to start out with something very simple. But my goal is to be the best investor who does all of the things. So there's also kind of a path through these user stories that gives just a little bit more structure if you're not exactly sure how to use this tool to best fit your needs.
That sounds good. And you guys are getting ready to roll a bunch of this out. Where can people look for this stuff?
So we're going to launch this right after launch. So we're still putting it together. We're going to do this within a couple of days of launch. And then we're going to have this on the Twitter, and then we'll also post this in a blog on the website. So it'll be k9finance.com/ this particular, the profiles. And we'll also post this in Telegram and everything.
Excellent. That's going to be good. Everybody stay up to date on that. Obviously, you're already in the Telegrams. I don't need you to join the Telegram if you're already in there. But if you're not, I can't imagine you made it to this space and you're not in there already. But this is all good stuff. This is cool to see everybody gearing up for the week before all of this is coming out. I wonder what, Adam, if you're over there in the speaker spot, what are you doing this week? Because everybody else seems very, very busy. Where's your headspace at right now?
I mean, excited, inspired, ready to go, right? This is the moment everyone's been waiting for. It's the moment we've been talking about in events, in spaces, in TGs. This is the moment, right? So doing things on my side through a live stream for sure. So as we kind of teased last time, I've been teaming up with CoinMerge. We just hit episode 2, going into episode 3 tomorrow of our live stream that's kicking off, getting out to quite a few people. And that's simulcasted to X as well as our TG. And guess who the featured sponsor is? K9, of course. So we're really excited to be able to have that go out to so many different groups that we're having, in kind of a quick hit manner for all the reviews we're doing. And of course, we're going to be sprinkling throughout as I'm doing these interviews, what we're doing here at K9. So it's awesome. And it's all about just what we have in our power to be able to include K9 in the conversation. This is a really important part of, getting the word out, is making people feel like they're early, right? Everyone wants to get in early. Now's the time. We're right at that edge of, the prime excitement, and being able to also test it is incredible. So I know I'm going to be pointing a bunch of people towards the live stream that Saizan is doing. I know I dropped him a comment as well when he was doing the live stream, just because I was like, man, people are sleeping on this if they're not actually trying this out for themselves. So I think it's all about it kind of coming together and, getting it out in any way we can.
When you're trying to work together with partners and sponsors for the live stream with CoinMerge, because as I look through the listeners in here, I see some people with brands like Barkoshi and Wolf Tools, Nura Hub. How are you finding partners? What could someone do if they wanted to be a part of what you were doing over there and get that sponsorship spot?
Yeah, I mean, not to, make it too much of a, CoinMerge space in any way, but being a partner of K9, of course, we extend that out to anyone listening, whether they be part of the Shibarium ecosystem or otherwise, because we are one of the few buy bot tools and ecosystems to support Shibarium natively. So if you're interested, just reach out to Funk. We can hook you up. Reach out to me. We can set you up, no problem. And it's really just as simple as installing, the CoinRanker bots, getting started with trending. Obviously, if you're part of this first wave or part of the K9 extended family, we'll treat you right. And we'll get you on the show and feature your project. We looked at LTD, we looked at Bad Idea last couple of days. It's been awesome to be able to kind of interweave everything.
Yep, that's why I want to give everybody an opportunity, because I looked up and down through the listeners as you were talking, and I just see some people that generally would be interested in either the exposure, or I've had conversations with them, and I know some of the things they're building, and I know you've got that opportunity there for them. I'm not afraid to throw a little shine. I'm not making the whole show about CoinMerge, but I'm going to say the name at least 3 times. We got the buy bot running and stuff. Funk will hunt me down if I don't. Have you seen this guy? I have to say it at least once, so I'm not afraid to mention it. If I don't, he will, man. We got about 15 minutes left before I got that hard out, and I wanted to give Buzz an opportunity for the corner, but I was actually curious if he even had a corner this week, because he's been so caught up. Buzz, I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you if you have a corner this week, but are you corner ready?
No corner for me. I was kind of reserving this time to maybe go deeper through that thread that I posted and just kind of use it as a educational tool, but quickly, what was kind of on my mind as well this week is just, and I know I posted a tweet, which is also in the Jumbotron, just about how one of the things I haven't heard too much from the community is that we're less than a week away from KN Bone launching, and when I think about that from a developer perspective or product builder perspective, there's going to be a lot of people with stuff that they want to use their KN Bone for. And if I'm a builder in Shibarium, or I'm a project in Shibarium, I may want to be recognizing that and starting to build out products or features and things like that would integrate KN Bone. One thing that we know about consumers in general is when they buy something or they are given something, they want to use it immediately. And I just think there's a potential blue ocean strategy here. I know that some teams are already trying to figure out how they can accept KN Bone. I know Mantra replied to that tweet that I'm referencing, that you're going to be able to buy NFTs with it on their platform immediately. I know that there's another team who is looking at how they can create basically a meme coin launchpad that's driven by KN Bone. So I think that'll be fun to see how that develops. And there's other products that have approached us, but I always just know that when people get something as a consumer, they want to use it. And I feel like there's a big opportunity here for Shibarium as a whole. But I also will pin up some of these specific tweets just in the Jumbotron, if that's okay, Shane. I'm happy to kind of briefly talk through the diagrams, and at least maybe it can be a bit of a resource for people to listen back.
Yeah, man, bro's asking me if it's okay. It's your show from now on out. You give me up until at least the 55 before I got to shut her down, okay?
Yeah, sounds good. So the first element of that tweet thread, like I was kind of talking about at the top of the show, is just that there are four main parts of the product. So there's liquid staking, farming, real yield staking, investing. And the first one, which I've also just pinned up here for ease of use if anyone's following along, is the liquid staking. So this element of the product, and there's a diagram there as well if people want to follow along there, is where people are depositing their BONE. And remember, BONE is deposited on Ethereum. And then they'll receive their liquid staking token, KN BONE, on Shibarium. So ideally, this happens very quickly. So if you're using the product on the 18th and you do that action, ideally it happens immediately. Your KN BONE shows up immediately, but keep in mind that this is a bridge. So part of the product is that your KN BONE is automatically bridged immediately to Shibarium. So sometimes, just as a cautionary tale, you may need to wait a little bit for that bridge to go through. There's a transaction that needs to happen there on Ethereum, and a transaction that, of course, needs to happen on Shibarium to get that KN BONE on your wallet. So just be patient. If it takes a minute or two or 5 minutes, it can be expected just due to how many people are using it. And due to the vote that just went through, so the main benefit of people who are depositing BONE is that they're, of course, receiving that liquid staking token. And then on the next tweet here, I'll explain like kind of where the value is derived there within this ecosystem. But at the start, there's no native yield built into KN BONE. And what that means is that as a DAO, we voted that 95% of the rewards from the validator would be given to real yield staking, which we'll talk about soon. So in the future, we could turn rewards on where even if you only hold KN BONE, some of the rewards would be given to those holders. But there's kind of a drawback there. It would mean that at certain points in time, KN BONE could actually become worth more than BONE because they're accruing rewards. So for simplicity, in that vote that just happened, right now there's no rewards going directly to KN BONE holders. But going into farming, I'll pin this one as well. This is where people who are holding KN BONE can likely drive the majority of the rewards using the platform, especially in the first 2 weeks. So part of the vote that went through is that there's going to be very lucrative rewards. There's going to be a very high reward rate for at least the first couple weeks, if not the first few months, as a marketing tool to get people bridging over to Shibarium using the K9 product. And nothing kind of speaks to the motivations of people more than 100% plus yields from using a product like this. And that's kind of what we're hoping to go for. It's something that the roundtable, which is the DAO governance layer, they really advocated for and gave Management Council the flexibility to really boost these in the first little bit. So that's very attractive. People, if they're already in a validator or they already have their BONE parked somewhere else, it's going to take a really big carrot to get them to move. And this is what the big carrot's going to be. So people who have KN BONE or just BONE can deposit both of those tokens into a liquidity pool on ShibaSwap. So people will be able to trade KN BONE and BONE, but where the rewards are coming from is if you put liquidity in there. So to do that, I know we've kind of had these lessons before, but in these spaces, but you'll have to deposit both of the assets, KN BONE and BONE. You'll get a LP token in return. You'll stake that on K9. And what's unique about this pool is it's because KN BONE and BONE are priced the same, you don't suffer from what's called impermanent loss. So impermanent loss, we've gone through this before, is when, say you're in an ETH USDT pool and you've added liquidity there and ETH goes to 5K. Well, one of the drawbacks with that is that if you have a liquidity position, you may have just made more money only holding ETH than you did providing liquidity. So liquidity providers, they earn fees, but they in a case like that where ETH went way up, they may have just made more money holding ETH than they would have earned from the fees in that pool. So the benefit of this one is because they're priced the same, you can always take 1K in bone and go to K9 and withdraw that for 1 bone. You won't suffer from impermanent loss, and you can stake that LP to earn escrow K9. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the vesting area here. But from what we know in the vote that just happened, you can do all of those actions with 1 click. It's called a zap. So it may be a little bit confusing to some people of like, oh, how do I add LP? Where do I go? There's going to be 1 button. The K9 product will recognize the if you have bone or KN bone, and you'll click the zap area. But there's a small fee for that. So it's 0.5% is the fee that was voted in. But you can do all this manually, but just saying that you can use the zap feature and pay a small fee to have K9 do it for you. There's no fees for redeeming your KN bone. So if you own it on Shibarium, you can always go back to K9 and get that 1 bone for every KN bone that you own. There is for every escrow K9 that you own, and just to describe escrow K9, it's what's called a soul-bound token. So the token does nothing. It can't be transferred. It can only be owned by you. And all it does is it vests over time. And eventually you can use the vesting portal to unlock that into K9. And for every escrow K9 that you earn, you can unlock it to 1 K9. And the escrow K9 will vest over a maximum of a year. But what we're going through with the auditors right now is that this may, and that will be communicated well in advance of the launch, it may actually be changed in the advantage of our users to be 6 months instead of a year. But one of the caveats for actually earning your escrow K9 or vesting it into K9 rather, is that you have to have, for every 1 escrow K9 that you're going to unlock into K9, you need to have 2 K9 locked in the real yield staking module. So if you're locking your K9 for more than what's called the minimum locking constraint, that means that you'll be able to unlock your K9. And I know that I'm rambling a little bit, and that's why there's diagrams here, and I'm sure there'll be really good conversation in the Telegram after this, and happy to dive into these a little bit more because it can definitely be confusing. But on the real yield staking element, this is where people are going to be able to stake or lock their K9. So holders can do either, and the longer that you lock, the more rewards that you're going to earn. So you can lock your K9 for up to a year, and if you do lock for a year, you'll get 13x the rewards as opposed to if you just staked it. So the difference between staking and locking is that staking, you can pull out your K9 at any time. You don't need to wait for any period, you can just pull it out. Whereas locking says, hey, I'm going to commit to staking my K9 for 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. And the multiplier, which was just voted on, is the amount of X's that you'll get on your rewards. So if you were to earn 10 bone and you had a 10X multiplier, meaning that you locked it for 9 months, you'd actually be earning 100 bone. So that's kind of how that works there. And what is very important here is that if you lock for 6 months, you get a 7X multiplier. 8 months, you get a 9X multiplier. So it's the number of months you lock for plus 1 is your multiplier on your rewards, and that was just voted in as well. And the last here is the vesting module. So this was actually taken, we took a lot of inspiration from a product called GMX. It's a perpetuals DEX on Arbitrum. So they had a really unique model to give users very lucrative rewards while just balancing their token economics. And what we know about DeFi is a lot of primitive applications just gave people tokens and the yield rates were amazing. They were good for 2 weeks, and then the token kind of fizzled off because they gave out so many rewards. So this is the module that people will use within K9 for when they're farming to start to earn. When they're earning their escrow K9, they're able to vest it into K9. And the key variables here that were voted on was the vesting period, which, like I said before, may actually come down to 6 months in the advantage of the user. And there's the rewards per second. So 420 escrow K9 per second was voted in, but this actually might be about a 5x of that in the first couple weeks, if not month, like the roundtable suggested, to have very, very high reward rates for this specific module. But one thing users need to keep in mind is that while you may be earning a lot of escrow K9 and accruing a lot of escrow K9, the way that you can actually redeem that is, remember, you have to be locking your K9 for a longer period of time than the vesting period. So if the vesting period is 6 months, you got to be locking your K9 for 6 months as well. And for every 1 K9 you're earning, you got to have 2 K9 locked up in that system. So it's a system that is really designed to recognize that there's a lot of users. There's bone holders, there's KN bone holders, there's K9 holders, and what we're trying to do here is balance an equilibrium where everyone's rewarded and their actions are incentivized to ultimately put more value on Shibarium and more value into the K9 protocol.
Entropy, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to this. I know that this is a lot, and it sounds very complicated. We are going to be working on making content with a person who's actually quite new to the crypto space, who doesn't know much about staking, doesn't know much about farming, any of those things. So we're going to make content and graphics and everything that is aimed to somebody who is brand new to this concept, so that it's going to be easy to digest. We're going to release this as quickly as we possibly can. It's going to be kind of stagnated as we, move from one topic to another, but I want everybody to know that we will be making this accessible. It's not just going to be, all of this in a very dense way. We're going to break it up for you guys.
It's the nicest way that you could ever make Buzz feel bad is by saying that it's like having a kindergarten science class with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, it is possible to be too smart to teach people. And I think that's a good thing. Buzz, I don't want you to take any of what that meant as a bad thing, but it is a lot. It is overwhelming. I'm over here thinking the same thing. I'm glad you said that. And having somebody with an outside perspective is valuable. Buzz, you got 3 or 4 more minutes on me, bud.
No, that was about it. Wrapping it up now. I know that, like Entropy said very eloquently, it's a lot of information. There's a lot of dense material to work through, but one thing that her and the rest of the marketing team have been great at prioritizing in the last week or so is just making sure that we do have digestible content. And this content will be dripped out over the course of the next couple weeks, but we got to translate it from that monologue that I just did that probably lasted over 10 minutes to starting to teach people who don't have that kind of attention span, don't have that kind of in-depth knowledge, and can just look at infographics that are pretty, they're visual, they're educational, easy to understand, and just click a couple buttons and understand it. So we've done the legwork of the technology, the legwork of the complicated math underneath, doing our best to educate people right now, but the next step is certainly in making that digestible for your average person in crypto to understand. And it's just delightful to have people working on that, because it's certainly not my expertise.
Go ahead, Funk.
Yeah, I was just going to say, taking this down to the absolute lowest of the low degen level, it's very nice to know that your dev knows what he's talking about. And if anyone was here listening and they still don't think that, I know a big thing in crypto is catching BS artists. I won't swear, but there's none of that here clearly, as can be seen by the content knowledge, the level of detail, and all the intricacy here. So if you're just a holder and you just go, I don't know, I just want to buy and sell the token, it's on that level, at the very least, it's easy to see you're in good hands. That's all I'll say.
No, man, I agree. It is nice to hear somebody get up and give you the technical details, even if that's not the level you trade at. There's going to be some people like me that just want to be told where to put their money. They just want the best place. They're just going to want someone to say, here's where you put your bone, bury it here, come back 13 months later or whatever. And we're going to do it. We're going to meet it all there, right, Funk?
Yeah, exactly, man. I was just saying there's there's everyone all in between. There's people that just want to buy and sell, and then there's people who entropy with that mid-level content is going to reach where they're just it's just a hop, skip, and jump away for them to understand what it is. And then there's going to be engineers, software engineers that are like, I followed every single element that Buzz said. I understood all the mathematics, and I've got that in my brain now. So you're going to have like all those different levels of people, and that's what our goal at K9, of course, is to reach every single person, because I think K9 has something for everyone, and that's what makes us unique.
Well, I saved myself a minute or two to shut it down today because I've been here for 34 weeks, 34 hours. I've been up here walking y'all through the valley of the shadow of not having staking. And here we are. We've made it to the other side. And this is about to happen, you guys. I'm so excited. 34 times we've got together and talked about this and talked. And now it's time for action. I could get you guys so hyped if I wanted to by starting to use my voice. I have to back away from the phone so I don't blow out the mic. But it's time. It's going live. Bone Crusher is actually happening. I'm so excited for Buzz and the development team to see this thing actually roll out, to see people use their software. I can't think of anything more satisfying than actually seeing people get in there and use this stuff. I can't wait for the data to flow. The data must flow. And I'm excited to get back together next Thursday and talk about this, because it's going to be a very different feeling in here, because I have always talked about there's going to be a significant shift in the entire vibe at what K9 does when this product goes live, because we go from talking about what a product can do to what a product is doing. And it's a shift in trying to get people in. It's a shift in why we're bringing them in, what we can talk about. So the conversation is ready to change, you guys. I'm not trying to be like the consequences will never be the same again. We'll see if you understand the meme reference there. Very obscure, by the way, if you do. But this is it. I'm so excited to be a part of this. Week 35 is not going to be the same, you guys. 6 days from now, Funk has promised updates every day on X. 6 days, 5 days, 4 days. We're going to count it down. We're going to get more active in the Telegram, and we're going to hear again next week about all of these crazy updates. And Buzz, I'm so proud of you. And Shima, shout out to Shima and the rest of the team. I know they weren't able to make it here today. I had planned on giving them a little bit more flowers since they weren't able to roll in here. So the last thing I'll say before I go is shout out to your local developer. Buy them a cup of coffee or whatever it is that gets them through their nights to get them to pound out the code on these keyboards, because all of this is coming down to the work of a lot of people that put in this time building the code. And I'm so ready for Bone Crusher to launch. And we're going to meet next Thursday to talk about it again on a K9 Finance Weekly DAO Update Spaces. I'm going to have this crew here and we're going to chop it up again. I appreciate you taking your time to be here with me today. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.